Welcome to Ageless by Rescu. This podcast is devoted to exploring the science of rejuvenation, uncovering the most trusted experts, the must-have products, innovations, and technology in the field of vitality, aesthetics, new beauty, and cosmetic enhancement. Jono Castano, how lucky am I to have you on Ageless by Rescu podcast? After all your jetting around, I finally nailed you down. Hi.
How are you? How you going? Happy Friday.
Happy Friday. We're recording here on a Friday. It's been an exceptionally cold start to winter. And I guess we can start with the fact that most people get a little bit gun shy to keep with their fitness and training routines. So maybe you can give us some inspiration for how to kick our own asses.
Yeah, that's so true. It's I've been in the industry for such a long time now that it really, you do see people kind of started to taper off in these cold times. For me, I'd probably suggest setting yourself like a strong routine. Something that you're able to stick to. Say, for example, you have like a group of friends where you all meet up for every Thursday. I've got a lot of friends that actually meet up outside for long walks every single Saturday. That type of stuff. Get yourself a personal trainer is also a great one. They're going to keep you accountable. So I think those type of things are really going to help you during winter. And I think start plan of attack before it actually gets to winter, and you're not leaving it too late because fail to prepare, you're going to fail. So I think that's a big one as well.
One of the things that I think is really interesting about fitness and body sculpting and shaping that I definitely hear back from my listeners and people who read the magazine is that it's often at a critical time or a celebratory moment that they set goals. So in my circle of friends, it's, turning 40 or turning 50 or post baby or getting ready for a wedding, or they've got a hot new guy. So, at those times, it's amazing. Our motivation is superhuman. Suddenly all the things that you couldn't dream of doing, you're suddenly running up flights of stairs, you're doing squats in your garage, you're doing sit-ups before bed. So I always say to people, there's always something in you that can be your motivation. You've got to find the why.
Exactly. Yeah. The why is definitely what takes you through, those hard hurdles throughout the journey, because there's nothing that's going to be easy with absolutely anything. You know what I mean? If you're working towards a time frame, if you're working towards any type of result, I think your why is like your drive to get there, because when it gets, like times like this, when we talked about how cold it is outside, you're going to wake up and actually remember your why and the reason why you need to get there to your training sessions, and why you need to have a structure around your eating, the balance around that. So I think that's super important. The why is like, believing in yourself, that's such a big one when you say the why.
I didn't exercise until I was in my 40s. Like when I say I didn't exercise, I did nothing until I was in my 40s. And when I started I started with Pilates because I found it really enjoyable. It was the first time in my life that I found something that was enjoyable. And the only other time that I trained was for my first wedding. And I got amazing results really quickly, but it actually put me off training because it was so intense and short and sharp and pretty injury prone as well, I would have to say, looking back on it, that I never then considered it. And it wasn't until I went back to my why that I went, you know what, everything I read about biohacking, everything I read about cellular wellness, everything I read about agelessness is before you consider, surgery, any kind of crazy thing, they say sleep, exercise, and diet. And that seems to be your mantra, right?
Yeah, that's correct for sure. I totally agree. I think a lot of us tend to kind of actually forget the benefits of what actually exercise is. And, when you talk about the experience that you had about you went on this, crazy transformation before your wedding, that's in all cases, that's not the case. I think a lot of us kind of, fail to actually make achievable goals with achievable time frame. I think a lot of us kind of create these like 10 to 12 weeks, like, hey, I'm getting married, I need to really get in shape really quick. And I think that's so toxic to anyone's mindset. And I'm so sorry they had that experience, because it happens to so many people that it actually puts you off training. And the thing we need to really understand about training is not all about getting flogged at the gym. Training is as simple as, hey, I'm going to walk outside and I'm going to do 45 minutes of a nice walk with my friends. That is still classified as training. Anything that's going to increase your heart rate, anything that's going to put your muscles under tension is going to be so beneficial for you in the long term. We talk about, getting older, we age, our muscles start to decrease, we start to get weaker. And that is the importance of what training is about. So I think we really kind of need to remember that with training, and kind of not circle ourselves within that toxicity of creating short-term goals. Let's make it a lifestyle. And I think the more we can kind of, really understand of what that actually is for yourself, because it's so different for someone else. What I believe in might be different to you, but I think we need to really kind of just get those little things. You talk about the sleep, you talk about moving, you talk about what we're putting into our bodies. There's so many pillars that we need to kind of find the balance for to live a much more joyful life.
I'm now at a stage where I'm addicted to exercise. If I don't train properly and hard, 3 or 4 times a week, I don't feel myself. And I think that, during the lockdown all over the world, and I know you train your celebrity clients all over the world, and I'm going to circle back to celebrity goals, because obviously that always captivates the imagination. But
For sure.
for normal people, the pandemic was an amazing handbrake on the life before, during, and after. What did you see as an emerging trend with your clients, and also, from your travels? What were the big takeaways?
I think the big takeaway is what really kind of I saw the shift in the fitness industry was a lot of people started to try new things. So, like yourself, like you went into, Pilates. A lot of people were doing a lot of virtual Pilates. A lot of people were doing a lot of virtual activities, trying new things. And I really kind of saw the positive shift in that. And that's where we talk about what training is. Like, training is so many pillars. It isn't just about doing weights, but I definitely saw that shift. And for ourselves, when, with Sarah and my clientele overseas, the celebrities, all that type of stuff, we kind of, we knew what was going on, but we kind of knew every single goal that each individual had. And for us, it's not about something's happening and we're going to stop training, because that's probably the worst thing you can do. You can't just go like this and all of a sudden just stop and put a handbrake and then go back to where we first started. I think that's crazy. Why would we even do that? So I think for us, what we really did as a business, we kind of, we grew with the times. We knew what was happening, and we created that virtual training type of style. We let no one stop. And with the type of new activities that I really saw out there, like I saw a lot of more apps popping up as well. Where when you talk about apps, there's so many free apps out there for us to actually view. But it just comes down to each individual wanting to try new things. So I think I really saw that during that corona, because you couldn't buy equipment. There was so many, you couldn't go anywhere.
That's
so
right.
I think we
We were all kind of stuck at home and craving variety and connection.
Great. Exactly. So we definitely saw that shift, and I actually really enjoyed it. And I'm happy that, everyone kind of started to open up and view new ways of training, because it just continued. A lot of people are still doing that to this day, so I think that's a great thing to see.
Jono, you're famous for your body transformations, and I think that, as I said, celebrities inspire the imagination. We think we know them, and nowadays we have so much more access to them via social media, so many platforms where they bring out so many aspects of their personality. And I guess the one that was just the greatest transformation was Rebel Wilson, who you trained and gave her the gift of being the person she saw in her own mind's eye. And I think that that's the talent of a really amazing trainer, because it is such an intimate relationship that you have with your trainer, and so much to do with trust and vulnerability. And I would love for you to share, and I know you've spoken about it in the media before, and she's certainly spoken about it. Can you share with us the journey that you took Rebel on, and what parts of it you really had to make a decision to act out of full integrity and support, given that so many people were watching this transformation?
Yeah, for sure. I'd probably say, not just Rebel herself, a lot of people actually, view themselves and want to make a change. And I think, she did that herself, and so many of my clients when they reach out, because it's a scary thing to actually reach out to someone and be like, hey, I need help. I think we all struggle to, make that step. And I
You're
think
so
even
right.
people,
Like it's that first step is the
the
hardest,
first
right?
step, yeah. Oh, you know what I mean? I think, people that do listen to this and, you are listening, I'll take like, hey, reach out to someone, we're here to help you, each person's there to listen. And I think, if you are listening to this right now, make sure you ask someone for help if you need it. Okay. But going back into the transformation, a key thing was actually announcing it that, well, you're wanting to make a change. And I think when you have like such a large audience, it's a lot of people look up to you, right? And you don't want to disappoint them, and they're keeping you accountable, even though that they're not there being like, hey, come on, like I was like myself. They're there viewing, they're there doing positive comments, they're there doing keeping you alive within that journey. So I think we did really well with that. And with all my clients, as part of my job, it's about keeping them
You're a psychologist, you're a therapist, you're a BFF.
Exactly. Yeah. We created that relationship, and I do with all my clients, not just Rebel. I think that's such an important thing to any personal trainer that's going to achieve results, because a lot of people give up too quick on humans. They say, for example, like, let's talk about someone's not getting results within 4 weeks. A lot of personal trainers, and they just lose the faith that they have within their clients. And I think that's such a negative thing for me. It's not about creating those short-term goals. And I think, with Rebel, it became more like a lifestyle. She really changed that. And with a lot of clients, I really encourage you to enjoy the journey, because if you're not enjoying it, there's no point of actually going through it, because like, hey, what a headache. That's just that's toxic to me. But I would say, we created an awesome program. Like, we talked about training 5 times a week, which I've spoken to the media plenty of times. But yeah, it's just a consistency through it and not giving up. It's a long-term thing.
Talking about consistency and goal setting, whether it be with celebrity clients or with regular people who've come to a point in their life where they want to take personal responsibility for their well-being. On the podcast, the podcast is called Ageless, and for me, it seemed a really natural name and a natural fit for where I was in my life, but also the people that I've met as a media person. And when we surveyed and when I did research on this whole concept of agelessness, it wasn't just about how you looked. It was about how you felt and how you performed. It was about health span as well as lifespan. It was about cellular wellness. It was about looking sexy, but also feeling sexy. A lot of people have said to me, the most transformative aspect of getting fit and healthy is that they got their sex drive back, and that that mind-body connection was never more apparent to them than when they changed their anatomy, not just how it looked, but also how it felt. Can you share? I mean, you're an athlete, you're a professional athlete that became a trainer, that became a business person in the fitness industry. What have you learnt about biohacking energy? And let's start with, sexual energy, because it's that's a great pillar. That's a great goal to have, right?
Of course, I totally agree. I think the best version of ourselves is when we're feeling the best within ourselves. So a lot of us, a lot of it. Well, I guess let's talk about clients that do come to me. A lot of them, if it's they've gone through a hard time and they're not feeling the best that they actually could. As soon as they start to train, as soon as they start to feel alive and they're happy with, and they look aesthetically, they're happy with the way that they're feeling, that you can see automatically on the changes that they have within their lives. Like I just had a client really just go through a hard situation in their life, and when she first came to me, it's the first it's always a talk and always a discussion on goals and stuff, and she broke down, and and I could really feel the pain. And, I actually trained her today, and you really see the difference in 6 weeks and what a shift that it's changed in her life. She's very happy, you know, everything's gone well again. When we talk about that sex drive, she's really enjoying it. She talks about it very openly now with me. And I think that's such a positive thing as well. Before, she was very closed off, and now with all the training, she's feeling great, she's feeling alive, and now she's able to open up, and you can really feel the energy that she has and brings into each session and each conversation that she has with myself. And I think that's such a positive thing. And
And
and I
that's a
think when
youthful
we're
energy. I mean, let's be honest,
for sure,
having a sex drive is a pillar of being youthful. What's the science behind exercise physiology and, increased sex
yeah,
drive,
well,
stamina, all of that?
yeah,
Is there a peak in testosterone, in estrogen? What
for
happens?
sure. 100%. When we talk about the most important thing, the release of endorphins, we get that natural high, and I think that's what we all chase within that exercise. Like, even for myself, I'm having a terrible day, I do a workout, and after that workout, I feel alive again. I feel myself, and we talk about sex drive. I feel automatically a much better person, and hey, it comes with that. So I think that's a big one. And in terms of, like, testosterone, you're releasing a lot of testosterone as well. You're sleeping better, which is automatically going to boost, your deep RM that you're having. There's so many scientific benefits of exercise that we all know about, but a lot of us struggle to really understand on those benefits. And a lot of us want to stay at home and not even train. So I think if we can kind of educate people on these benefits of what's actually happening when you train, I think that's going to encourage people as well. When we talk about winter, like, hey, we got to continue training.
Speaking about the physiological benefits and
Hmm.
health benefits,
Hmm.
again, to feel ageless, to improve your health span and increase your lifespan. There's a lot of talk about bone
Yeah,
density, flexibility,
visceral fat.
mobility.
Yeah,
What
for
can you
sure.
tell us
Yeah.
about what are the best exercises? So, say
Mhm.
someone's listening and they're in their 30s, and probably not thinking about bone
Hmm.
density yet, but it's
Hmm. Hmm.
coming. That
Of
conversation is
course.
coming. What are the
Yeah.
best things you can do? Say, let's start in your 20s. What do you think are the top
I,
fitness metrics and goals to chase?
I think if you're in your 20s, I think the best thing to do is making sure you're staying active, and you're doing those type of sessions where you're really kind of pushing your heart rate to the limit. And when I talk about to the limit, you're reaching those high heart rates, like we're talking about 140s, 150s. You're doing that high intensity type of training, and you're really kind of focusing on that at that kind of age as well. Where we're setting those healthy habits of, when we talk about alcohol, you don't want to really oversee too much, because you talk about your liver, your kidney, all that, the visceral fat, all those things start at that time. And I think
So,
if
by
we can
visceral
create
fat, you
those
mean the fat around your belly?
around the organs, yeah, basically, yeah. So
Yeah.
whenever you do like a DEXA scan, really outlines on those level. And when you talk about a bad diet, it really kind of showcase that. You talk about cortisol levels. So it's all about creating, I think, in your 20s, if you can start to create those healthy habits within your structure, I think that's going to be the best thing in your 20s to do. And hey, and maintain, those five times a week training, that would be amazing.
So you're in your 30s, maybe it's your baby making years. Your goal is
Which,
to be healthy enough to get pregnant and then get that
mhm,
baby fat off. If you're a
yeah, of
girl,
course.
and for guys, it would be the high pressure career building years and maybe your
Yeah.
party years as well. So, what are the key things in your 30s that you would recommend to your clients?
I think in the 30s, especially for males, we're talking about the stress. I think we need to kind of put time aside for ourselves, where it's saying that's not if we're in that industry. If you're working, obviously, you're an accountant, those high stress. I think you need to get out of there, go to the gym or whatever it is, to kind of put time aside for yourself, including females as well, in whatever job that you are doing, if it's accountant as well. We talk about when in those baby making years, it's so important to strengthen your core, your pelvic floor, and really kind of focus on your breathing techniques and really understanding that. I think that's super important. And when you are coming back and you're trying to burn everything off, I think starting off with the basics again, and then really kind of finding that structure as well. And we talk about the 30s, and I think we talk about the visceral fat, making sure that we're still maintaining a good healthy diet. We're taking care of our bodies, if it's having multivitamins, if it's fish oils, whatever it is, doing regular blood tests as well to make sure that our bodies are running at 100%. I think
I'm
that's a thing
so
that a
glad you
lot of us.
said that, because I think that functional testing is such a key.
For sure.
I think genetic testing, functional testing, gut microbiome testing, if you can get into the habit of knowing what the dashboard of your body looks like.
Well, yeah, I think that's so important because, a lot of us are taking a lot of these supplements that aren't even useful to the body, and we don't even need it because we're already creating enough. And we kind of need to really understand that. And the only way is doing those type of tests. So I think that's super important as well. If it's in your 30s, your 20s, your 30s, 40s, whatever age it is.
So you said that, in your 20s that high intensity training is great, getting your heart rate up is great. Would you start really focusing on weights, muscle density, flexibility in your 30s? Is that when you would start introducing that?
Yeah, correct. A lot of us, in the 30s, we start to kind of get into those desk shows where we start to round the shoulders, and we lack that posture. So I think when we start to really kind of focus on weights, it's more about correcting those type of techniques where we're retracting the scapula, so making sure we've got a strong back, we've got a strong core.
I immediately want to do this.
Yeah, exactly. Because that's where the pain and niggles start to happen. We start to get those lower back pains because our glutes aren't strong enough, our core's not strong enough. So I think those type of things we're really focusing on those key programs where they're kind of working on that is amazing in your 30s. In your 20s,
what exercise would be good?
Yeah, I think if you're trying to work on, obviously, better posture, and you're trying to bring out your chest, you're trying to work on a lot of the posterior chain, which is anything like, we talk about a seated row, we talk about single exercise like at a row, lab pull downs, stuff like that, where we're strengthening the lats, the rhomboids. I think, and that is one of the things as well with any type of personal trainer. You're there to assess your client. You take photos, or for myself anyway, but my clients, I take frontal photos, side photos, and back photos. And then you can really see the alignment as well. A lot of people are hypolordosis, so they're very tight for their hip flexors, and they've got that curved back, which a lot of us, that creates a lower back pain. So it's very common. And if we don't start to attack it at the 30s, the 40s, it's gonna creep up on you. And hey, it's going to be harder because we talk about the older we get, recovery is a lot harder. And I'm sure you felt it before. You can't be going out having a lot of drinks at your 40s because the next day you feel absolutely terrible. In your 20s, it's like you recover like this.
I'm pretty sure I did all my drinking in my 40s. I was too busy being a hustler in my 20s, but yes, the recovery is painful, and
it's painful.
It's not worth it.
I totally agree. But I would say that for sure.
Now, you talked about core strength and pelvic strength, which I think is kind of an underrated aspect of training, and also posture, because when you talk about a youthful silhouette, whether for guys, it's always, a slimmer silhouette, but for women, a youthful silhouette is an upright silhouette. It's, your flat tummy of your youth. It's your, cinched in waist. So going into your 30s and 40s, so say you're transitioning out of your 30s, going into your 40s, you have your estrogen levels drop off, your metabolic rate is probably a little bit slower.
Sure.
What are some of the things that we should be doing to help with the kind of the youthful silhouette?
I think if you're trying to keep your youthful silhouette, and you're talking about your metabolic rate dropping down, it's you really got to focus on your calorie intake. And we're trying to, if we're with any type of goal at whatever age, if it's in your 40s, you look at BMR, just on top of my head, it's probably around that 1500 from without doing any type of exercise. So we need to exercise to increase our output, because if we're at a surplus and we're taking more food, okay, and you're 40, then say goodbye to your 20-year-old self. You're just going to be putting on weight. And I think that's so important that we need to increase our output through exercise or whatever it is. And you need to watch your diet, what you're really eating, because I think, like we talked about, you're not burning as much calories as you are when you were in your 20s.
Running and, high intensity training is kind of, maybe, you were an athlete in school, you always considered yourself to be a really fit person, and then you want to hit the treadmill in your 40s and 50s or start doing marathons, and then the body says, fuck off.
Well,
For lack of a better word.
your joints when you get as well, when you start to get older, they start to decrease, they start to hurt a lot more. And,
But how
it's,
can you do
when
it
you
if
do,
you're a runner, if you love that kind of training? Are there kind of tweakments you can do that you recommend to your clients? And you say, okay, I'm going to let you run, but we're going to do it this way.
yeah, for sure. I think, if you're really trying to work those tweaks, you've got to strengthen those key areas around, if you talk about long marathons, you're going to be doing a lot of running, which is going to put a lot of load on the quads, the quadriceps. So I think, and the hamstrings as well. So I think if you can kind of develop strong strength around that through training, the strength and conditioning type of training, that's going to be beneficial. If that is your goal, and you want to be running marathons at that age, So I think there's ways that you could aid in those type of goals. But at the same time, like, you see a lot of people still giving it a red hot go, like doing those city to surf, and without any like specific type of training. So I think, it's I guess those runs, you really focus on the charity side of things. So I think, if you can do those little 1%ers and help towards any avoiding any injury, I think that's super important.
So you're in your 50s, you still think you're 28. Most people, 50, 40 is the new 20.
I
Um,
agree.
and you have all that mental energy, but your body's just not keeping up with you. What are some of the tips and techniques you would offer that are safe, because you don't want to blow a cardiovascular gasket, you don't want to have a
For sure.
stroke?
No.
What are some of the biohacking tips that can go along with exercising that are going to give you the physical ability to operate, your body to its peak?
To its peak, I'd probably say, once we get into those 50s, we really got to come to terms within ourselves on what we're able to actually do, and really understand that, because we don't really want to, like you talked about, we don't want to have a stroke. And there's so many ways to kind of make sure that we're peaking at high performance. You talk about increasing your testosterone levels. There's natural supplements out there. You talk about Tribulus, which is, known to boost testosterone. There's many things that can kind of help us keep those, when we talk about recovery, you talk about branched chain aminos. There's so many little things, those 1%ers, that are really going to help us continue to train and help us in our goals.
And I guess part of having a training routine is having a recovery routine. What do you guys recommend at Acero? What do you do? What do you recommend your celebrity clients do when they are suddenly going from zero exercise to 5 days a week?
I'd probably say within the clients that we have at Acero, in terms of the working load, we create like we talked about, we bring in the client and we assess the client in terms of their capacity, and we create like a customized program. So we change it every 6 weeks, because we kind of start to plateau, and our body needs new stuff to really attack the muscles in a new way. In terms of recovery, we've actually got someone there that works. His name's Jorge, which is simply amazing. But you focus on, we talk about, remedial massages. There's a lot of devices now that help release, obviously, the muscle tissue when it's kind of under tension. We use Therabody, which is like those guns that you see around. A lot of people kind of applying them. So I think those little things that we're adding to our programs is going to help us within the recovery. And that's what we do at Acero. We customize the program, we customize the stretching plan as well, and we also include Jorge within any recovery or injuries that someone may have in whatever they were doing.
If I were to ask you to wave your fairy godfather wand, what do you reckon? And foolproof, best bang for buck exercises. Let's talk about first for weight loss. What is if you were going to recommend
Cardio.
one or two things that are going to strip the fat, what would they be?
Probably say cardio and any compound movements. And we talk about compound movements for people that don't know what that word is. It's exercises that are using more than one muscle group. So we talk about squats. Squats, is going to be basically using every single part of the leg. It's going to be using, your core. And if you are using that, it's going to be loading your lats. So it's including a lot of muscle groups in one motion. So I'll probably say your cardio. If it's treadmill, if it's swimming, it's walking, if it's whatever type of cardio it
And
is
how
for weight
much
loss.
in each session to strip
So I'd
fat?
probably
Like I'm talking about, oh, come on, let's
so
go.
yeah, let's go. I'd probably say I always, I've started this hashtag. It's called 45 daily. So it's kind of really encourages each person to do something for 45 minutes. And I'd probably say that's simply enough. And I think I'm a strong believer about that. 45 minutes, you can really do some amazing things, you know. And I think a lot of people that don't have 45 minutes in their day, I think that's, for me, that's, you know, it's a lie, because we can, if it's either we can wake up later, you know, we can go out of the office, take meetings on the AirPods, you know, we can do so many things to fit 45 minutes in our day, because if we can't, like, hey, I think, you know, we're not going to get to our goals. And I think, you know, anyone that does say they don't have 45 minutes, I hate that, for me personally, because I feel like we can make time for anything. Because if something bad did happen, I'm pretty sure you're going to make changes to your life, right? So you're trying to avoid
Or something
those
good,
bad,
like if you suddenly,
yeah,
you know, met the
yeah,
love of your life and wanted to get
of
ready to
course.
go on a yacht to Monte Carlo, you wouldn't find
Ex-
your time.
e- exactly. And I think we should kind of not wait for those times in our life, because when we talk about the people listening, I hope they found the benefits of what actually exercise does and what it's going to do for you. So I think that's a strong thing as well.
And Jono, if I wanted to ask you to wave your magic wand and tell us what is going to give you the best bang for your buck for toning and
Tony?
firmness.
Toning and firmness, I'll probably say any type of weight resistance. If it's a class, if it's at the gym and you're doing weights, I'd probably say anything that's going to put your muscles under tension with load. So when I talk about load, it means any type of weight. If it's a kettlebell, it's a dumbbell. If it's you know, when we talk about those the ones that go around the legs, any type of load.
And do resistance bands count as weights when you're talking about
Yeah,
load?
yeah, correct. Yeah, for sure. That's you know, you're creating anything that's going to put tension. So when we use a resistance band, when we open, you know, if we're doing any type of lower leg exercise squats, it's really kind of putting tension on the quads, the hammies, the glutes. I think that's definitely beneficial for toning.
And can you tell us, I've read so much about this. I do it all the time. I love doing them. What about the plank? Is there merit in learning how to plank properly?
I think the benefits of a plank is to strengthen your core. You know, a lot of people, you know, when we hear the word plank, and they kind of visualize six like abs. You know, like this is going to give you a six pack, and I'm telling you, it's not going to give you a six pack, because we all have six abs under here. Like, you know, we do. We just got layers of fat around it, which we can't visually see it. So I think you know, when we talk about doing a plank, it is super important. And I think because at the same time, it's strengthening your core. So, you know, when we talk about having a baby, when we talk about avoiding any lower back pain, I think it's so important to have a strong core set, because it kind of protects everything, you know what I mean? Lower back is connected to everywhere. So I think that's so important of actually doing a plank.
Now, you've been traveling a lot and you're in LA a lot. I would like to finish up with saying, if looking into the future, because, you know, we do tend to follow the US, I think, with fitness trends. We've had Barry's, we've had CrossFit, we've had the various.
Rumble's coming here as well.
What are we getting?
Well, you know, we talked about Rumble Boxing is coming over from the States. We do, obviously, when we talk about this, everything that we bring from the States is because it's such a big market over there, and everything that works there is going to be work well within Australia, because we've got very similar habits. You know, we all really, like we all take good care of ourselves. You know, in LA, like everyone looks, you know, simply amazing. I feel like in Australia as well, everyone's really kind of putting themselves first, and I think that's the
So
reason why a lot
Rumble's
of things come
coming.
here.
That's a
Yeah,
boxing class.
a
Anything
boxing.
else?
Yep. What else is coming from the top of my head from LA? Trying to think. I know there's another one.
Anything about climbing?
Uh,
Do you like climbing? Because I know you guys have got a big climbing
yeah, yeah.
wall
Well,
in
we obviously
series.
we obviously we obviously got like the climbers. You know, there's the one that's already been in Melbourne's called Rise Nation. But in terms of that type of stuff, nah, nothing new from the top of my head. But you know, there's, like I said, you know, there's always things coming in, and we tend to kind of, you know, copy a lot of things that they do, and they do it amazing. And I think it works really well within the Australian market.
Well, it was so good to speak to you. I really appreciate it. I've been invited to come to Acero a couple of times because one of my dearest friends, Sandra, trains with you. And of course, Dr. Joseph, the great love of my
Yep,
life, also trains with you. And whenever I'm on your socials, I'm always inspired, and I want to come and do all the new things that I haven't tried before. So I'm coming.
for
Lockdown is
sure. I think
over. watch out.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, we definitely, I'll be expecting you, and it's good that you want to come in, and because it's such a great community that we've built within Acera. It's
And I want to try new
it's
things, I think that's
yes,
ageless, to try new things, to push yourself. I'm super excited for you to tell me, what I should try that's going to get me out of my comfort zone. And I love that that's, part of the
amen.
culture of Acera.
I love that because I don't forget, when we're in our comfortable zones, that's where the best rewards happen. Yeah.
Yeah. Wonderful to see you. Have the best long weekend. And I really appreciate you coming on Ageless by Rescu.
Likewise, thanks for having me. And I hope, everyone listening to this has really, benefited something from it and wanting to make a change within their lives. So
Yeah, we
take care and
do.
enjoy. Amen.
Bye.
Amen. Good night. Take care.
Thanks.
See you later.
I hope you enjoyed this episode. And if you did, please share and rate this episode. I'd love that.